to More Living with Jim Brogan, your source of information for living the best years of your life your way. For more than a decade, host Jim Brogan and his expert guests have come together each week to share important news and advice that can impact the lives and well-being of those who are retired and those nearing retirement. Learn about issues like health and fitness, financial planning, Social Security benefits, investment advice, and more. And now, here's the host of More Living, Jim Brogan.
Good morning, East Tennessee, and welcome to More Living with Jim Brogan, where it's all about living the best years of your life your way. It's been a beautiful week. I hope you've been getting outside some, and hopefully we'll start opening this state up here in a couple more weeks. I know it's been a real challenge. We've all had people around us be affected by, the stay-at-home orders with our jobs and with our businesses and all of those things. So I hope you're hanging in there. There's a lot of good that can come out of this. We can choose to focus on the good. We can serve others and, just reach out and look for ways we can help others. Now, it's kind of interesting because we were, it was a go, go, go way of life that we were so accustomed to just a few months ago. And it's brought most of us back to a slower pace with the coronavirus that our parents and grandparents enjoyed when they were kids. And I remember growing up, it's been more of a pace in the last month or so that it kind of reminds me a little bit of my childhood. Everyone's home on the weekends, spends time together eating meals. We have kind of restarted the family meal in the evening, and we absolutely love that. Instead of running errands to kids and activities all the time and eating dinner on the go, the slower pace has brought with it so many great benefits. But it also may change your access to your gym and fitness routine and definitely our way of eating. For some, these changes in food and fitness might be positive, but for some, we have fallen off the fitness wagon and snacking all day. And so today, my friend Andrew Henderson from Fitness Together is here to offer tips on how to make healthy food choices and maintain fitness when we're stuck at home and get out of our daily routines that we're normally accustomed to. Good morning, Andrew. Great to have you with us this morning.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Knoxville.
Absolutely. First off, Andrew, how are you and your family doing?
We're doing good, Jim. My wife is a teacher, so she, unashamedly will say she's enjoying the little break. We also have a 13-year-old, so, keeping him busy and motivated is not always the easiest thing, but I think now that he realizes that they're not going back to school this year, that he really has no other choice but to start, looking for other ways to keep himself amused and entertained. So it's a challenge, but, we're doing good.
Well, good. Yeah, my family, my 19-year-old is home from college, finishing out her freshman year, and then my 14-year-old, close in age to your 13-year-old, and yeah, they're kind of, I think, starting to chomp at the bit to get outside and start doing things. So I kind of completely get all that. Hey, I know that it was kind of funny, Andrew. When we first were getting these stay-at-home orders, we flocked to the grocery store, and I bought probably a month. I bought probably a month worth of snacks, and I think I went through that month in about 3 or 4 days. I think a lot of people had that happen because we had this panic grocery shopping, and we bought non-perishables and frozen food items. And then we're home, and we go through those things quickly. Did you see that? Have more of your clients talked about that?
Yeah, I think people, they fall back into some bad habits as well as some of the good habits that you had mentioned. So I know we certainly kind of dealt with that firsthand in our own household, and I've caught myself more than once just wandering to the pantry, multiple times a day when I'm not even hungry, right? So it just kind of becomes a habit. And
you just sit around and it's like it gives you something. Yeah, it's almost like it gives you something to do. You have that distraction in the pantry.
Well, it also, if you're an associate and if you are a business owner, maybe like yourself or like me, quite honestly, these are stressful times. And so I think what I found myself anyway doing is eating out of stress, because it gave me a break from some of the, applying for the SBA loans or figuring out how we're going to pay our rent without training anyone. So, it definitely highlighted some of the issues for me that some of our clients may deal with. So in a way, it's been a real learning experience to be able to go through some of those challenges myself.
Yeah, there's no question stress eating can be a problem. So we kind of did this pandemic shopping, Andrew, and our lists were filled with foods that maybe not all of them were healthy choices. And I know I've got a freezer full of food that we've gone through some of it, but we've got a lot of food in there we haven't gone through. Now, I tried to be fairly smart about what I bought, but not all that stuff's healthy. I've got all this stuff in the freezer. How do we go about eating all these items and being mindful about their health value?
I think, there's an old adage, and it applies to eating really well. And it's, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. So, my recommendation to you and your listeners, Jim, would be to come up with a meal plan. So you know what your meals are each day. And you prepare those meals in a way, you plan those meals in a way so that they're, 80 to 90% of the time, they're healthy meals, filled with lots of, vitamins, nutrients, antioxidants, things that our immune system could really use right now. And then the other 10% of the time, maybe you allow for, a frozen bagel bite or chicken tender or whatever you have in your freezer that maybe isn't your best choice. Use those sparingly, though, and I think a lot of it's a mentality, too, Jim, and I've talked to some clients who you kind of think it's almost like, in a weird way, it's almost like for some people working from home or not working at all is a little bit of a vacation. And so they get into that vacation mentality when in fact it's really just our new reality, probably for at least the next few weeks. And so you need to get back to a normal schedule of exercise, of eating, of sleeping, so that you get your mentality right. And I think you'll make better choices once you get that part back.
Yeah, you touched on something there, Andrew. I think routine. It's important when we're working from home or if we're furloughed at home to still establish some kind of a routine. And to do that, as you said, you've got to kind of make a plan. And I think that deals with activity and with food. Can you just comment on that? I think routine is so important to keep from falling off the wagon with our fitness.
It is. I think kids are staying up, probably a lot later than normal because they don't have to get up for school. And probably parents are staying up later because they don't have to get their kids up for school. And that tends to lead to interruptions in our sleep pattern, which can throw us off in terms of when we're eating, right? If we're not eating breakfast until later, we're probably not eating lunch or dinner until later, and maybe that's not the best thing. I think the best thing that you can do is to try to get back to a normal schedule, as normal as possible, the way things were before the coronavirus outbreak. Try to go back to bed at the same time. Try to wake up at the same time. Try to eat your meals at the same time every day to give your body a chance to kind of readjust and establish what the normal is. And you may find that some of these cravings and drops and spikes in blood sugar, for example, are less frequent if we can just get back to a normal pattern. But the first thing to do is to write it down, right? Write out what your daily routine is going to be. Write out what your weekly schedule is going to be. Keep a calendar, and try to stick to it.
Yeah, I think those are great tips. And, we all know, we've all heard the adage, don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry. And I think when we do our meal planning and when we do our grocery shopping, and even if we're ordering groceries online, is not be doing that when we're famished and are just really, really hungry, right? Even making our list, to me, is important. It's the same old adage, don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry. I mean, do you agree with that?
I do, and I read an interesting article, and it talked about people who shopped online grocery shopping, and there's really a couple of advantages. Obviously, one, you're getting less exposure to, COVID-19. Number two, you're not as subject to impulse buys as you are when you go to the grocery store. How many times do you have a good list with the best intentions, but, the fudge stripes are on sale or the big bag of Doritos catches your eye? You didn't plan to do it, but you did it because that's how grocery stores market it, right? They put it in position strategically to make you buy those things. They put it at the very beginning and make it look like the deal of the century. So if you're not vulnerable to those things, then, you're less likely to make those purchases. If you have the discipline to go to the store with it, make sure you have a grocery list with a plan for your week, so that way you know exactly what you need for each meal, and that's all you buy. Don't buy the other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the key words here: planning, having structure, being organized. Tell you what, we're visiting with Andrew Henderson of Fitness Together, and we're talking about food and fitness, how to stay healthy and fit when we're at home and we're kind of out of our normal routine. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the importance of our planning. And hey, this is really an opportunity from my vantage point, Andrew, to really focus in and create more structure with our eating, because, sometimes when we're so busy, we make poor choices. Well, now we've got more time. A lot of us do. We got more time to work on those choices. But then also, how do we get creative with fitness when we don't have access to the gym and we're not going in and doing all those things? How can we be creative and balance all of these things? So don't go away as you listen to More Living right here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
You are listening to More Living with Jim Brogan. During the week, Jim is a financial advisor, an author and speaker with an MBA from the University of Tennessee, who specializes in helping people in or near retirement plan for the next phase of their lives. You can reach Brogan Financial during the week at 865-862-6800 or on the web at broganfinancial.com. And now, here's Senior Market Advisor Magazine's 2011 National Advisor of the Year and host of More Living, Jim Brogan.
Welcome back to More Living here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI. I'm Jim Brogan, your host, and we're visiting this morning with Andrew Henderson, Fitness Together owner. We're talking about how to stay healthy when you're kind of stuck at home. And I think Andrew kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit in that first segment when he mentioned it almost at times when you don't have as much to do at home, you kind of get in a vacation mindset. And that's dangerous when it comes to our food. And so how do we create some structure and discipline? And it's an opportunity, Andrew, I think, to create and focus on healthy habits. So let's talk a little bit about how we create healthy habits with our food. And then we're going to get into fitness and how we exercise and how we can be creative there as well. But Andrew, I'll have to admit, I get the munchies. I like a good cookie. Mm-hmm. We make these homemade cookies in the office for our clients that come in. And man, they're so good. Of course, we haven't been seeing our clients. We're doing everything virtually in the last several weeks, but normally I love a good cookie in the afternoon. I also love a little pack. You mentioned the Doritos. I just love a pack of Doritos. How can what are some healthy snacks that stay with us that we don't just use up and then get hungry? Or how can we create more healthy snacking to where we can, get from meal to meal and not be famished, where then we just make poor choices when we eat?
Yeah, good question, Jim. And that's that's the problem with things like cookies and Doritos. Most of the snacks that you're mentioning they're high in simple or kind of less valuable carbohydrates, and those carbohydrates give us a little bit of a sugar spike, a blood sugar spike, which our body likes. So in some ways, carbohydrates can be really addictive. So first of all, be aware of the snacks that you're choosing. If you're constantly choosing foods that are higher in carbs, higher in sugar, there's a good chance that you're not getting enough of the right nutrients throughout the rest of your day, and your body's, kind of craving for that energy in another way. It could also be that you're dehydrated or sleep deprived. So, be aware of your cravings first and really try to get to the root of why you're craving those foods. In terms of finding healthy, snacks, there's so many different options. It really depends on what your palate is and what you prefer. I think this is a good time to experiment a little bit, almost, maybe try a food or try a snack that you haven't tried before. Obviously, fruits and vegetables are really one of the best ways to go when you're looking at healthy snacks. Some of my favorite snacks include sliced bell pepper with a little bit of low-fat cream cheese, or like a crudité, cucumbers, carrot sticks, celery dipped in a healthy ranch dressing, perhaps. If you can make your own, that's better. Almonds are a wonderful
hey,
snack,
Andrew,
and they're high in vitamin G.
One of the things that makes me think of, Andrew, when I eat just fruit or vegetables, I'm so hungry an hour later. They don't seem like can you talk a little bit about the value of just a splash of a healthy fat? If you eat some nuts or you have just a little bit of avocado, can you talk about the importance of a healthy splash of fat? Not too much, or would it be too much even if it's healthy fat? Talk about the balance of that.
Yeah, so absolutely, there are healthier fats and less healthy fats. Usually your unsaturated fats are the ones that are plant-based, and usually they're going to be your best bet. So avocados, sunflower seeds, almonds are all great examples. And what fats do is they create a sense of satiety, right, where you don't feel as hungry. Protein can do that as well. So I definitely recommend looking at some, healthier versions of protein to help supplement that. But yeah, we recommend that clients eat a combination of fats, proteins, and healthy complex carbohydrates with each meal and with each snack for the exact reason you just mentioned, Jim. So that's a great point.
Now, Andrew, what are some of your favorite websites to find recipes or cooking tips? Do you have websites or sources you go to find good, healthy recipes and cooking tips?
Well, I'll be quite honest with you, Jim. My wife, Sarah, does most of the meal planning and cooking in our family, and thank God she does, or else it would be a very limited menu of grilled chicken, broccoli, and rice every night if it were up to me. But Sarah, I think she goes to like a cookinglight.com, as well as she finds a lot of her recipes just on Pinterest. And she's actually created a spreadsheet of healthy recipes along with a link to the recipes online and a list of ingredients. So, at some point that might be something we could turn into a downloadable file that you could share with your listeners if you'd like to.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. One of the things you're touching on there is the importance of, if we're home with a spouse, is the importance of working together on our choices and our meal planning and all of those things. Because I know, for me and Dee Dee, of course, we've been clients of yours for a long time, and we've had to lose a good bit of weight and stay fit. And if one of us is off the wagon, it really hurts the other one.
Yeah, it does, because it's easy to, kind of like the Bonnie and Clyde effect. You've got, two people doing the wrong thing, and it's your partners in crime, right? Right. And so if you can both be on the same page and both be involved in the meal planning. Now, fortunately for me, I like just about anything that is put in front of me. I'll eat anything you put in front of me. But if you have a situation where there is a picky eater, but you're also trying to create a healthier meal plan, getting that person who's a little pickier to be involved and maybe open their minds to trying some new foods, maybe putting some vegetables next to the meat and the potatoes on the plate, is really going to be very helpful. So that way you're not having to create two separate meal plans in your house.
Sure. Now, one thing that I think is important, Andrew, and for all of our listeners is, if we can, is we need to support our local restaurants. And so many local restaurants are offering curbside delivery, or they'll even deliver it to your home. And I think it's important to try to help them get through this difficult time if we're able. I mean, it gives us an opportunity to save money by eating more at home, but if we can, we really want to support our community. So, right. What are some tips, Andrew, for healthy choices we can make when looking at a to-go menu at our favorite restaurant?
There's some words that you want to look for and try to avoid, if at all possible, when you're looking at a menu. The one that jumps out to the top of my head is fried. Sauteed usually means oil or butter, so we usually try to avoid, dishes that are sauteed. Watch out for things that are crunchy or crispy, because again, they're usually fried. Things that, the good thing now is most menus have nutritional information on them. So you really look at your total calorie count too, especially if you're struggling with weight. A meal probably shouldn't be more than about 700 calories if you're on a weight loss program. So you look for total number of calories. Again, if your main ingredients are lettuce, vegetables, produce, you're probably in pretty good shape. If your main ingredient is red meat, starch, if your main ingredient is a starchy food like pasta or red meat or a potato, then you need to be careful, because that's where things can get out of control pretty quickly. The beautiful thing about vegetables is that if they're prepared in a healthful way, that they're virtually calorie-free or very low calories, and they pack just a ton of nutritional value. So, make sure you're ordering extra vegetables as your side. Avoid the French fries. Avoid the rice. Avoid the baked potato. Go more with vegetables, lean proteins. Basically the same thing that I would suggest that you do at any time, not just now. The rules of nutrition haven't changed. It's just maybe a little trickier in how we implement them. In some ways, though, I think it should be easier for us to implement them because we have more time to actually think about it now. We're not rushing through fast food restaurants.
I think that's very.
So, yeah, there's an opportunity here to really there's an opportunity to establish good habits that we don't usually have because of the things that you mentioned at the beginning of the show, and that's we have more time together for family meals. Well, don't waste that opportunity.
Yeah, I think being intentional. I mean, we kind of know, there are hidden things with restaurant menus, but for the most part, if we're intentional, I think it just all of that is what we're saying here today: writing things down, planning things out, being intentional when you go to a restaurant. And do you think this will kind of cause people, Andrew, with the way our families and our friends and we interact together when it comes to eating out and spending time together? Do you think this will change our approach, especially with the family units? Do you think there are some positive things that can come out of this?
I hope so. I hope there is. I read somewhere that people, when they come out of this, the couples will either be closer to each other than they've ever been, or they'll wind up divorced, right? So I think this time together can go one of two ways. It can really bring out the best in us, or it can really highlight some of the weaknesses that our relationships may have. But now that we're with each other 24/7, those weaknesses become more highlighted. So I hope that if you sense that there's an issue in your relationships, that you're able to identify them with this time and work on those by, planning and being more intentional with spending, quality time together, not just in front of the TV or on cell phones, but actually doing things with each other and talking to each other. And if you're in a good position with your family, hopefully you can explore some new activities and hobbies that maybe you didn't have time to do, or, and just get to know each other a little bit better, since, we're kind of socially isolating from a lot of our friends right now. I think especially with kids, this is a great opportunity, since they're not running around with their friends as much, to get to know them, at a better, more intimate level.
Well, and to create activities where we're active together and not just sitting around watching TV and looking at our cell phones, as you mentioned. And that's what we're going to segue into the back half of the show. We're going to talk about fitness and how we can get creative. We're also, when we come back, we're going to have our dollars and cents segment, unique tax planning opportunities in the midst of this healthcare crisis. So, there are some unique opportunities that we don't want to overlook with our tax planning. Then we'll get into fitness. So don't go away as we visit with Andrew Henderson of Fitness Together. You listen to More Living with Jim Brogan right here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
Through his weekly radio show, television news appearances, and adult education classes taught at the University of Tennessee and Pellissippi State Community College, Jim taps into his extensive knowledge and experience to address issues important to living your best retirement. Join Jim every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI, and visit him online at broganfinancial.com. And now, here's the host of More Living, Jim Brogan.
Thanks for listening this morning as we're discussing fitness and how we stay fit, make healthy eating choices, and how we can be active in a world where it's a little bit more challenging because we can't go to the gym and we can't get out quite as much. We're visiting with Andrew Henderson, my friend at Fitness Together. He's the owner. My wife and I have got to know him quite well over the last really 10, 12 years. And he's just so knowledgeable and does such a great job with his studios. Before we get back to Andrew, however, it is time for Dollars and Cents.
Want to be sure you are getting the most out of your retirement? For all the years of your retirement? That's the primary goal of More Living with Jim Brogan and our Dollars and Cents segment, where we provide you with an important financial tip that will help positively impact the quality of your life in retirement. And now, here's Jim with this week's Dollars and Cents tip.
Unique tax planning opportunities in the midst of COVID-19. Don't get me wrong, this is a challenging market. It's a challenging world. We have healthcare crisis. It's affecting the markets in a significant way. So don't misunderstand me. I know many of you are having a challenge, both in terms of your life planning and your financial planning. We do, though, want to make sure that we're taking advantage of opportunities that are presented that can help us improve our financial planning. And, we think about the investment side a lot, but a lot of times we have great opportunities on the tax planning side. So let's just hit a few of these. First off, markets are down. That gives you opportunities on a couple of fronts from a tax perspective. One is with Roth conversion. If your IRAs are significantly down right now, you have a chance. I personally don't think this is going to turn into a global depression. I think the United States will come out of this. It's going to take a while economically. I'm not sure we're through the worst of it with the stock market. I hope we are. The market has bounced back about half of its losses since the latter part of March. But I think, the economy, the economic impact is going to last a while. So, doing Roth conversion when the markets are down, it's like you're getting a discount. You're getting to convert more shares of an investment to Roth and pay tax on a lower amount than if you had done this 3 months ago. So it's kind of like they're discounted right now because 2-3 years from now, I do think this is likely to be in our rearview mirror. So doing Roth conversion in an opportunity like that. Also, taxable gain harvesting and tax loss harvesting. If you have longer-term investments that you have a lot of confidence in, but they're down right now, you have an opportunity to either realize gains at a lower rate. You also have an opportunity to tax harvest losses. Now, if you tax harvest a loss, then you do have to wait over 30 days to reinvest in the same vehicle, like the same stock or the same mutual fund. You could reinvest it in something else, but be careful with tax loss harvesting. There are some rules in place that you have to be careful. But tax gain harvesting is an opportunity for many retirees that don't have to take taxable distributions yet from their IRAs. You've heard me discuss a lot that there's this sweet spot in retirement planning between retirement age and age 72 when you have to start taking those distributions from your IRAs. So you have more opportunities for gain harvesting while the market is down. And then I do want to just bring up in the CARES Act that was passed a couple of weeks ago, remember they waived the required minimum distribution for 2020. So if you're 72 or older this year, you do not have to take a required minimum distribution, which gives you more opportunity to take advantage of tax planning opportunities because it's almost like you have this extra year where you are now in this sweet spot for tax planning where you can maybe realize long-term gains at maybe even a 0% tax bracket or Roth conversion in a low tax bracket. And the investments are down, so you can convert more shares than you would have 2 months ago. So tax planning is a very critical part of your overall financial plan. Now, one more note that I want to mention is what if you already took your required minimum distribution, and now you find out you don't have to do that? Well, if it's a traditional IRA and you took the required minimum distribution February 1 or later, typically you can do a 60-day rollover where you can kind of undo that and put it back into the IRA and undo that distribution. Well, it's been more than 60 days if you did that in early February. Well, the IRS has provided guidance that the 60-day rollover is now extended until July the 15th when the tax extension deadline is. So if you took that minimum distribution after April 1st, you have some relief here to plan to undo that. Unfortunately, if you took it in January, as of right now, you don't have that relief. Also, you cannot do a rollover like that if it's an inherited IRA. But stay tuned because the Treasury may pass additional guidance to give us opportunities to undo a minimum distribution you've already taken. But the biggest thing is to be flexible and use smart tax planning opportunity as opportunities are presented in a world of a lot of instability and volatility.
That's our Dollars and Cents segment for this week. You can find this week's Dollars and Cents segment and others by visiting BroganFinancial.com.
And do please check us out at BroganFinancial.com. One thing I want to invite you is the University of Tennessee is having a special class, Retirement Planning in the Age of COVID-19. And it's the two-part class that I teach at the university. It's through their adult education, and it's being offered virtually. It is April the 28th and May 5th. And I got to tell you, these Zoom classes, we use Zoom as the platform for that. They have been going off without a hitch. So if you have a computer with a pretty decent internet connection, you can attend this virtual class, and it's very relevant right now today. How do you create a financial plan that can work for you in retirement in the midst of a lot of economic and market volatility? Retirement planning in the age of COVID-19. If you go to my website, BroganFinancial.com, click on classes, you can pull up the class. You can also go directly to FinancialSurvivalForRetirement.com. And you can call the University of Tennessee at 974-0150. They can get you fully set up. Again, it's April 28th and May 5th. That's coming up here in about a week and a half, successive Tuesday evenings. It's 2 hours, 6:30 to 8:30 on those two nights, virtual learning. I highly recommend that so I can equip you to make informed and prudent decisions that can impact the quality of your life. We're visiting this morning with Andrew Henderson of Fitness Together, and we're talking about eating and fitness tips. And let's talk a little bit about fitness, Andrew. We don't have access to the gyms right now, and so our routines are thrown out of whack. But on the other hand, we've been having some beautiful spring weather. What are some great this seems like a great opportunity to take up walking, running, maybe getting on a bicycle. How might someone start a new outdoor exercise routine?
Yeah, and, the one thing I will say is even though we've been kind of quarantined and in our houses, we've been very blessed with the weather we've had. Looking out of my window today, it looks like another beautiful kind of sunny day. So, definitely take advantage of those things. And the great thing about it is it's right outside of your door, and we're in a city, Knoxville, that still has a lot of open parks available. I enjoy bike riding, so that's what I like to do. My wife likes to walk, so she did a 6-mile walk yesterday. Some of my friends are going outside and making their own little boot camp style workouts at the park. So as long as you're practicing safe social distancing, there's really no excuse not to continue an exercise program. And maybe you can find some of the time that you have now to go and try something else. Maybe you go play Frisbee golf at the Frisbee golf course and walk, or go to the par 3 golf course and hit a few golf balls or hit some tennis balls. It's all around us. It's free, and it's a lot of fun. You just have to get up off the couch and do it.
Well, and luckily we live in a state where we haven't closed our parks, and we have the access to do those. I got to say, my brother is a tennis professional instructor, and he's out in Oak Ridge and out in Maryville at Green Meadow. And, I've started hitting tennis with him again, and it's nothing I've done a lot of. But I want to be more active. I'm a swimmer, and I can't get to the pool. at the gym. And so I've started hitting tennis with him, and it's just been so refreshing. And I may just, tennis is a great thing to play as you get older. I'm 50 now. This is something that's going to help me create a new activity that I can do to stay healthy. And, now, you mentioned the social distancing, Andrew. 6 feet is the suggestion. So when you're on a trail or a sidewalk or playing golf, how do we adjust our awareness of the dangers there as we come across other people?
Yeah, and when you're exhaling, breathing heavily like you would be exercising vigorously, that 6 feet, I believe, probably doubles because you're exhaling harder, and so your spread is farther, right? So, that can be a little tricky, especially because if you haven't been outside lately, everyone is outside doing things, right? Go to the Lakeshore Park, and it's packed with people. The mountain bike trails are packed with people, so one suggestion is maybe to go earlier in the morning or maybe a little bit later in the afternoon when there's not quite as much traffic. If you feel like wearing a mask is the right thing for you, especially with lower intensity exercise like walking, then that's probably not a bad idea. And then obviously just practice good, sanitation, washing your hands, hand disinfectant, and give people a little extra space. That's all. When we mountain biked the other day and people were coming in the opposite direction, we would get off of our bikes and kind of walk our bikes about, 8 feet up into the woods off of the trail to allow plenty of clearance for the other person to make way without being exposed to their germ spread.
Yeah, I think that's a great word. About the breathing heavier and, when we pass people on a greenway, I think those are some excellent tips. Tell you what, we're going to get to our last break. When we come back, ways we can get more creative. If we don't have weights to work out with and we're wanting to do resistance training or we can't get outside, what if we live in an apartment building or a condominium? What are some creative ways with calisthenics and other things, kind of the old-fashioned way that we can be creative and get in great workouts? So don't go away. We're visiting with Andrew Henderson of Fitness Together on More Living with Jim Brogan. This is News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
Thank you for listening to More Living with Jim Brogan. If you miss any of today's show or want to listen to it again, visit BroganFinancial.com, where you can access the podcast and other educational materials to help you in your journey through retirement. And now, here's Senior Market Advisor Magazine's 2011 National Advisor of the Year and host of More Living, Jim Brogan.
Thanks for listening this morning. More Living with Jim Brogan, where it's all about living the best years of your life your way. Listen, I've been putting out as much content as I can about the financial challenges and how to do financial planning in the midst of this volatility and chaos. Go to my website, BroganFinancial.com. My next class at the University of Tennessee is fully virtual on April 28th and May 5th. You can click on classes to find out more information at my website. Also, I have posted about 5 blogs in the last, 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. One on the markets, one on the CARES Act. I have Haller and Hilton Hill did an interview with me on planning in this, retirement planning specifically. How do you secure income in the short term where you're not subject to market volatility? A lot of those resources are all online. We are also fully virtual in my office. We're providing full support and service for our clients, and we're 100% virtual. We can offer a virtual meeting for you if you would like. We can also do phone reviews. We have full and secure technology and capability. You can check out all of that information at BroganFinancial.com. Andrew Henderson, Health and Fitness. We're discussing this with him. He's somebody I've known a long time. He's just so good with what he does. Andrew, how can we get creative at home? There's a lot of things, calisthenics. Walk us through the different things we can do to do resistance training when we don't have access to weight machines and a lot of us don't have free weights at home. How can we get creative and be wise at home? And what about online classes and virtual classes to help us with those things?
This is really kind of opening up a whole new window of opportunity, quite frankly. We specialize in personal training, and over 50% of our clients are now scheduling their sessions with us online through Zoom or FaceTime workouts. And it's live, it's one-on-one, it's customized to their needs. And so I see this not just being a temporary fix, but something that becomes more prevalent. Certainly companies like Mirror and Peloton are really focused on bringing that gym quality experience into the home. So, I definitely think there's a future there. Definitely buy stock in Peloton because I think it's going to keep going up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of free resources, Jim. One thing that we do as trainers is we make videos every week for our clients to use at home. In fact, some of our crew from the Farragut studio made a video, a weight training program using just a container of laundry detergent the other day. And so, first of all, if you're on Facebook, go to Knox FT, and you'll see a lot of free content that we've put up for our listeners, our clients and our friends. There's no charge, and you'll get some great ideas of exercises that you can do with little or no equipment. The second thing, to answer your question, the great thing about gravity is that it's everywhere, and we are constantly doing resistance training, whether you know it or not. When you do a push-up, you're resisting gravity, which is obviously a very strong force. Squats, lunges, stepping up and down, going up and down your stairs, just getting up and down out of your chair 10 times. Movement is key right now, both physically and psychologically. So that's my first recommendation is keep it simple. The second recommendation is if you have some household objects that you could turn into resistance, then do it. A gallon of water is about 8 pounds. If you have 2 gallons, put one in each hand. Now you've got 8-pound dumbbells. It didn't cost you anything. You didn't have to go to the store. Focus on your big muscle movements, your big groups, your legs, your hips, your core muscles. Those are the muscles that burn the most calories and will give you the most metabolic bang for the buck after you're done with your workout. Incorporate that with, cardiovascular exercise. Maybe you run up and down your driveway a few times and do a set of push-ups or do a set of squats. Get creative and take what you have and put it all together. And if you need help, reach out to us. We offer a complimentary consultation. We'll show you how to do this at home with a program that's right for you, and there's no charge for it. So, if you're not sure what to do, we're happy to help, and I'm sure there's many other professionals out there as well that would be happy to do that.
Yeah,
for
so
you.
Andrew, I know my wife and I have been doing our virtual workouts with with our trainer there. So how can people get more information? You mentioned your website. Why don't you give out your website and your phone number? How can people get in contact with you and learn more and get some of your information?
Yep. So we have a special website just devoted towards the virtual training, and that website is knoxstrong.com. You'll learn more about how that program works, and we can schedule your initial free trial session so you can, see what virtual training is all about, and we can give you a recommendation and a program to do at home using the equipment you have. Again, no charge for that. It's just our way of saying thanks and giving back to the community. If you want more general information on Fitness Together, just visit knoxft.com. And if you're more of a phone person, you can call or text me directly at 273-0380.
Okay, so knoxft.com or knoxstrong.com about the virtual stuff. Andrew Henderson,
Yep.
Amazing trainer and a good friend. Thank you so much for being online with us this morning and calling in. Your information is just so informative and well read. Thank you for your time today, and good luck with your family staying healthy and as a small business owner, continuing to get through this challenging time and offering solutions to East Tennesseans.
All right. Thanks, Jim, and have a great morning, East Tennessee.
Absolutely. That's Andrew Henderson. We've discussed your health because greater health provides for more living, so you can live the best years of your life your way. So thank you for tuning in. We'll be right back next week. This is More Living with Jim Brogan, only on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
The views expressed by Jim Brogan and his guests are not that of Cumulus Media. Any discussion of financial, legal, and tax planning strategies is not intended to be individualized advice and is general in nature. Always consult with your advisor for advice specific to your needs. This program's content does not represent a recommendation of any particular security, strategy, or investment by Jim Brogan or Brogan Financial Incorporated.